Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. This is the market wrap video for the week ending Friday, August 1st. And what a start to August we had. Let's start off here with the Dow Industrials. Side-by-side view with the Industrials, the S&P 500, and Nasdaq 100 on a weekly basis. The Dow lost 1,313 points. I think that's right. Yeah, 1,313. Closed below the entire trading for the month of July. In here, so pretty negative picture here with the industrials. The S&P 500 was a bearish engulfing candle, down 150.63, and the Nasdaq 100 also was a very bearish engulfing candle, down 508.94. All right, let's go back. I want to take a look at the Nasdaq. So here's the Nasdaq, just the Nasdaq composite, down 472.32 on Friday. So, pretty negative picture here over the last 2 days for sure. And what I want to show you, this was up 3.7% for the month of July. So I'm looking for this particular post by Jesse Felder. And he's showing this post from Almanac Trader. I guess this is from the dailychartbook.com. With the lone exception of 1980, every NASDAQ hot July since 1971 was followed by a retreat that averaged 5.8% from July's close to a subsequent low in the second half of the year. A hot July is defined in here of gains of 3% or more, okay? So this last month, we had a 3.7% gain in the NASDAQ composite. So now it's going to be interesting to see what do we get. And I'm really expecting something. Let me show you, let's take a look at let's start off here at the NASDAQ 100. This is what I follow most closely, is the Nasdaq 100. Let me adjust this a little bit. That's not helping a little. Let me do this. There we go. That's a little better. So what I want to look at is the Elliott wave picture in here. And this is very similar to what I've got on the SPX, okay? I think that the first wave up of intermediate wave 5 is in the books. Okay, so I think we completed that. We had 5 waves in here. Definitely a lot flatter of an advance that we had than the wave 3, minute wave 3 here. And I think we have our 5 waves to complete this wave structure. We definitely were getting divergence that's showing up, and now we're starting down. So the real question is, where are we going with this? All right, so, I've got a target here. If we just get 50% retracement, we're going to be down here at 20,220, okay? So it could be a little bit less. It's a little bit clearer if we go to the Qs. Let's do this. A little easier with the numbers, let's put it that way. 492 on a 50% retracement. But if it only goes 38%, then we're talking 512 when you round it. But, here's a little gap in here. Clearly, there was a bunch of trading activity that occurred back in here late May into June. So, the real question is, what kind of wave structure do we get? What kind of, how strong are the first waves coming down in here? Do we get a zigzag for wave 2, which is kind of the default that you go to start off for a wave 2, but it doesn't have to be a zigzag. And then how long is this going to take? Is this going to take all the way to the end of September? Or is it going to go into October? So anyway, this is what we're looking for, and this is what we're watching for. Okay, so that is the Qs. So we got an indication of a hot July and what it could bring, but then we also got, Ryan Dietrich was talking here about how August and September can be, pretty weak. After a 28% rally, he's just saying, look, it wouldn't be unusual to get a well-deserved pause like this. And then, we've got this kind of performance in here. He's saying the first bar since 1950. The second, the blue bar, the past 20 years. And then the past 10 years. And then a post-election year. And so this is what August looks like. This is what September looks like. So again, it really fits with the picture of some kind of pullback. And I'm expecting one that's fairly dramatic in here, but wouldn't be surprised at all to get quite a bit of turbulence as this starts to play out. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of indicators to show that, there's definitely some weakness going on in here. When you take a look at let me go over here, the percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average in the S&P 500. Here's what I'm looking at. We got pretty good divergence in here from the beginning of July to the peak that occurred, okay, not confirmed by this indicator. And now we've broken down. We're closing below the 50-50 level. We're at 49% right here. And this is the lowest close on this indicator since May 1. Okay, so here's May 1. So this one here on May 6 was 49.7. So that's why I'm saying it's the lowest close. So literally, we're closing below all of the activity of the last 3 months on this. And then a couple others, another one that's looking weak is the high lows on the New York Stock Exchange. Minus 61 on Friday. Now this is the lowest since April 21. Okay, so again, closing well below all the price action that occurred over the last 3 months. And this is the net between the 52-week highs minus the 52-week lows. And then on the Nasdaq, a little more negative, minus 171, and it's the lowest close since April 11th. So quite a bit of negativity kicking in on this move to the downside. Now we are oversold. There's no doubt about it. It's just a question of, are we ready for a bounce? The market's been down. I mean, if you go back to the Qs, in this case, we've really only been down 2 days in a row. I'm not sure. Let me look at this. 567.26. 568. So we've only been down 2 days in a row. But if you look at the SPY, for example, it's been down for looks like 5 days in a row. Wouldn't be unusual to get a bounce. The industrials have been down for 5 days in a row. Okay, so yeah, we're extended to the downside. Could get a bounce. Doesn't have to happen on Monday. But again, the whole drift of what I'm trying to, explain here is that I'm expecting a lot more to be occurring over the next several weeks as we flesh out August and September. All right, so for the Mag 7 reported this last week, let's take a look at what happened. Let's just start off with what happened on Wednesday with Meta. So what's interesting about Meta, big gap up on Thursday after the earnings on Wednesday. Big gap up. But it's interesting to compare what happened to back here on May 1st, actually. Big gap up, huge volume. We had bigger volume this time, but we've already started to close the gap on Friday. Now, it's not huge, but that didn't occur with the breakaway gap. Okay, so it's going to be interesting to see if this starts to close and closes this gap over the next week or so. That's pretty negative in terms of what's happening. Okay, and when we take a look at Microsoft, similar kind of picture, only even more dramatic. Microsoft's already almost closed the entire gap on Friday. Didn't quite get there, and the volume that kicked off on Thursday is a lot less than the volume. Well, let's just say it's less than the volume that kicked off on May 1st with the huge breakaway gap. I mean, this had an incredible run, but this really does give you pause when you look at this. Okay, now on Thursday after the market, Amazon reported first. Well, pretty negative in terms of what happened with the results on Friday after the earnings report. We literally have closed, it closed below all of the trading of July. So in one day, gave back all of the price action for the month of July. Very negative price action. Apple, quote unquote, blowout earnings. Blowout earnings exceeded expectations on earnings, revenue, everything. Didn't matter. It had already started to roll over, was already starting to break down, and it closed below all the trading for the month of July also. Okay, now this has probably been one of the weaker, it and Tesla, of the Mag 7, but pretty negative result in here as a result of the earnings report, et cetera, and what's going on. Okay, so that's where we sit at the end of the week. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that little subscriber button. And if you'd like more of this information on a regular basis, head on over to joehenches.net, check out the website, check out the membership. Everyone, have a great week. We'll see what kind of fireworks we get this coming week. Talk to you on the next video.